Seattle News Weekly from Fox 13.
Welcome to the Seattle News Weekly podcast. I'm Matthew Smith inside the Fox 13 Seattle newsroom. Things are going to look a little bit different this time around. If you're used to checking in with us each and every week, you know, we break down the biggest news. And right now there's really only one story that everybody's talking about. That, of course, is this atmospheric river. We are seeing flooding pretty much in any direction you look throughout Puget Sound. I want to bring in Fox 13 meteorologist Abby Acone, who's been in the thick of it in the studio and out in the field. Abby, how are things looking where you're at now?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Matt. I really appreciate it. All morning, we've been out here in Renton, King County, along the Cedar River, where major flooding has been happening. And in fact, earlier at 8:45 this morning, according to the USGS observations, we exceeded the all-time record for major flooding at this point. We got to 17.22 feet, which is above the record of 17.1 set back in 1990. And truly, that's the trend that we're seeing in rivers at many points all around Western Washington, that this is a historic event, this onslaught of atmospheric rivers coming on through. And the power of the water, Matthew, has really been quite intense. It's a little bit fear-inducing and awe-inspiring, something that really puts it in perspective. And I mean, check out how roaring it is, first of all, with the sound. And then secondly, it's moving so swiftly and so high. We've seen things really get worse over the last several hours. The waters have continued inching higher and higher. That trash can is now a goner. You can see the stair railing over there where there are probably stairs underneath. We haven't seen them all morning. This is flooding the trail here. Now the city of Renton, like many other river communities, they've built this concrete levee along with these earth mounds. So we've got a sub shop here. We have an apartment complex, this really high mound. I would say that the water levels have come up, based on my observation, about a third of the way. We don't know how much higher the waters will get when it comes to the levee. Now the city of Renton, they are monitoring the situation very closely. They have free sandbags that are available. And then there's also a shelter that they're offering, I believe at St. Matthew's. Pets are welcome to come too. So they're just going to keep a very close watch on things. So in terms of what's next, and again, this is a trend that's reflected in many other spots around the region. Major flooding at this location is going to happen all day, and the crests and the timing of the flooding is going to vary river by river all around the area, but many spots are seeing some of their highest levels of the week today. Here at the Cedar River near Renton, this is going to drop to moderate flood stage tomorrow and then below flood stage Sunday morning. So all day we're kind of just waiting to exhale here. And Matthew, it's been really difficult seeing these stories on other rivers where you've been reporting as well.
Yeah, Abby, it's kind of wild because it's one of those situations where I feel like for folks who haven't lived through some of this, I mean, atmospheric rivers, we get them. But we don't necessarily get this set up where we see the type of devastation that we're witnessing right now. I had some views earlier at Sumas. It's like I'm looking at this camera and I'm just seeing business after business after business just inundated with water. But I mean, I could name off every single municipality that can listen to us talk. Most of them are dealing with flooding right now. But for those of us that are newer to the area, the first thing I had somebody say to me that hadn't lived through one of these before, they were like, Matt, it's not raining. What's going on? And so that water has to come down from higher elevations. Could you just kind of walk me through why we see these times where there's no rain, but all of a sudden it's so active?
That's a great call. Yeah, there's a delayed effect. For example, it's stopped raining here for the last few hours, but the water levels are even higher than what we saw when we were seeing the onslaught of moisture. It takes time for the rivers. There's an offset there. You see the really heavy rain come through. It dumps that rain over the highest elevations, and it's the higher terrain that gets the higher rain totals on average. And then there's the trickle-down effect. It takes some time for that runoff and then for these rivers to be running higher. So you notice that there's a little bit of a delay and things are staggered. Something that's really remarkable, Matthew, is that, yes, atmospheric rivers are quite common, but what was unusual about this setup this week is that the atmosphere got blocked up, just like a huge boulder, that could be in the Cedar River. We have this high pressure in the Pacific that was just locked in. and then low pressure to the north of it, and it just kept this conveyor belt of moisture going on through. And so because the atmosphere is blocked up, we didn't get any movement. But we're finally going to start to get a little bit of movement here. The atmospheric river is going to be ending somewhat soon, and then we start trying for drying in some areas Friday and Saturday. Do you want me to go into the big picture for next week too? I don't know if folks are curious about that, but
absolutely. I think any information we can give people looking ahead too, because let's be real, we are going to be dealing with this for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so I was really curious getting in and looking at the weather models this morning. I'm a bit concerned about Monday's forecast because on Monday we could see another round of intense precipitation, rain. It doesn't look as bad as what we've seen at times this week, but because there will be so many communities reeling from this week's weather, I'm concerned that Monday's action could exacerbate things further and create, more pockets of trouble. But Matthew, I was really encouraged to see that temperatures by Tuesday and Wednesday are really going to be cooling down. And this is good news. We like to see the cool down because that means precipitation is falling in the form of snow over the mountains. That's great for a whole bunch of things, but one, that helps to shut off that rain running off the mountains and into the rivers. So it means at the higher elevations, the flooding risk starts to go down, and that will have a positive ripple effect on the rivers. It's actually kind of wild. We could see the current models are going upwards of 10 plus inches for some of the ski resorts Tuesday and or Wednesday. That forecast very well could change between now and then, but even though the wet weather continues next week, hopefully the cool down means there's a limited flooding effect.
That's a great point, because I know as I talked to some of the folks with the state climate office, they were explaining, hey, we didn't have all that snowpack up there this time of year, this go around, and that actually was to our benefit. I didn't quite understand, but if you could walk me through that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so that's actually something interesting to keep in mind, that if we had a bunch of mountain snow and then we melted that off the last couple of days, that would have exacerbated things even further and could have made it even worse. Yeah, that's actually a point that I hadn't really thought through as much. But what is wild is also that yesterday, that atmospheric river was the Pineapple Express kind, which meant it was even more intense because the air was warmer, there was more moisture, and temperatures yesterday shot up into the upper 50s, which, just goes to show you how tropical that moisture really, really was. But yeah, we really watched to see what the precipitation type is over the mountains. Atmospheric rivers are classically mild, and that's part of the issue. But yeah, if we had been, a month or so deeper into winter, we had a lot of snow melt, and then that contributed to things as well. That could have been challenging, even more so.
I know you've been so busy over the last couple of days here, Abby. I'll let you go in just a second, but one final question I had for you. I see all the folks that are behind you walking the trails, probably trying to figure out what in the world it looks like for themselves. I am just curious for the human element. What does it feel like being in the field, rubbing shoulders with these folks, and just realizing hey, these people are going to be dealing with this even after we pack up and go home?
Yeah, I've seen people come in and out. They're watching the levee. They're looking at the river. I think here in Renton, from the limited moving, right? We've only been at a couple of locations here in Renton, but we also talked to the city of Renton. It doesn't seem like there is currently a major widespread flooding threat to most homeowners in the area. But of course, we're going to have to see how levels change throughout the day. I will say the overall thread is that people do have a level of concern and just remarking on how dramatic this is compared to what they've seen. These aren't levels that we've experienced in, 3 decades, more than that. It is just wild, and I do feel for communities that are even more heavily impacted than Renton. There's so many other spots in the North Sound that I'm getting really worried about. Also Ording down there. So there's just you feel the fear and concern, and also the resilience. There's been a lot of resilience too.
Meteorologist Abby Acone, she's been bouncing around in the studio, out in the field. We appreciate you so much. Do want to remind you guys, new episodes of the Seattle News Weekly podcast comes out every Thursday. You can watch them on the Fox local app, fox13seattle.com, or the Fox 13 Seattle YouTube channel. You can also listen anywhere you get your podcasts. And of course, we will see you next week.
Seattle News Weekly is available wherever you get your podcast.